Hi guys, in this episode of Shri series, we're going to be talking about calculating loss. Alright, so I've got two questions and we're going to work through in a step-by-step manner. Now, if you looked at my previous video where we talked about percentage increase, decrease, and then we looked at calculating profit, we're going to be using the same scenario and same methodology, but in this case, we're going to be calculating loss. All right. Now, just a bit of a quick background. I put this in my previous video, but I'm happy to show this again. What happens in a loss? All right. So you've got what's known as your cost price and you've got your selling price. So what happens in a loss is when your cost price is greater than your selling price, you get a loss. All right. So when you buy something and you sell it at a lower value than you bought it at initially or originally, you incur a loss. All right. So we're going to be using this simple concept to explain the two questions here. All right. So let's look at question one and I'll read it out for you. A car was bought for $10,000 and sold for $8,500. Calculate the percentage loss. All right, so let's look at the information given here. We've got the cost price or CP, which is $10,000. And we've got the SP, which is my selling price, which is $8,500. That automatically tells you that the person selling this car sold for a loss, all right? Sold it at a loss because your selling price of $8,500 is less than your cost price of $10,000, all right? So let's look at the percentage loss. So the first thing you need to do is subtract 10,000 minus 8,500. Now, there's different ways of explaining this here, all right? So some people do what's known as your SP, which is your selling price, minus your CP, which is your cost price, over your CP, which is your cost price, multiply it by 100, all right? So SP meaning your selling price minus your cost price, which is 10,000, over your cost price, because that's your original, and I mentioned before that's your denominator will be your original, times 100. All right, so what you see here is, if you work that out, that's going to be 8,500 minus 10,000 over 8,500, 10,000 over 10,000. Now you will notice that you're going to get a negative value. All right, you're going to get a negative value because 8,500 minus 10,000 is negative $1,500. So you will see that that negative $1,500 will tell you that that's a loss. Why? Because of the negative value. So the negative value will tell you automatically that you've made a loss. All right, so what do we do from here? So I like to put the brackets so in that way you don't get confused multiplying the 100. All right, and what we'll do here is I'll just put an asterisk here and then to show that we are going to continue from here. So that's going to be negative 1,500 divided by $10,000 multiply by 100. I'll put a line there so in that way you don't get confused with the other bits there. So negative 1,500 divided by $10,000 times 100, and you're going to get a 15% loss. All right, so that 15% loss tells you that that's the percentage you have incurred as a loss, not as a profit. All right, so that negative 1,500 that you obtained, which is this one here, is the loss you've made at a dollar value. All right, so that negative $1,500 does not become your percentage loss. it talks about the loss you've made as a dollar value. So you've lost $1,500 because you bought for $10,000 and sold it at a loss of $8,500. That 15% becomes your percentage loss. Now, let's move on to the second question. So, a manufacturer bought a speedboat for $20,000 and sold it at a loss of 25%. Calculate the selling price. So you can see the difference between the first one and in this question is that in the first question, we showed you the cost price and the selling price. You needed to calculate the percentage loss. In this question, what's happening is you've got your cost price, you've got your percentage loss, which is 25%. You now need to calculate the selling price. So in your mind, you need to remember that your selling price will now have to be less than $20,000 because the manufacturer has incurred a loss of 25%. All right, so let's write down what information we have here. My CP is $20,000 and my percentage loss is 25%. And we now need to find out my SP, which is my selling price. Now, there's two steps we can use to work this out, all right? So let me write down step one. Step one is get 25% of 20,000. And that's going to be $5,000. And then what you now need to do is subtract, because it's a loss. If it's a profit, you add to $20,000. So in this case, you're going to subtract $20,000 minus $5,000, and you're going to get $15,000 as your selling price. And that makes sense because that $15,000 is less than your cost price of $20,000. So that's step one. What you do is you get 25% of 20,000, which is 5,000, and you subtract to show that you've incurred a loss. Let's look at step two. So when you look at step two, what you look here is that because you've made a loss of 25%, you're now going to subtract 100 minus 25. So that's 100%. Which is 75%. And what you're going to do is you're now going to get 75 over 100 multiplied by $20,000. And you're going to get the same value that you obtained from the previous question in step one, which is $15,000. So both steps one and two will give you the same answer. It's the methodology. In step two, we've subtracted from 100% because it's a loss. And then you get 75 over 100 times $20,000. All right. So in a nutshell, you now know how to calculate not just percentage loss, but you're now able to find the selling price after calculating the percentage loss. All right. All you got to do is remember that when you incur a loss, you do incur a loss because your selling price is less than your cost price. All right. In the next set of videos, we're going to be talking about percentage discounts and commission using the application of percentage increase and decrease. Thanks, guys. Bye now.